Hey guys, welcome to another guitar lesson video. I'm Bruce, and today we're going to be talking about all things tablature. We'll get into how to read in just a couple of minutes, but first I wanted to get into a little bit of the history of it and talk about a popular myth around it that I've heard both in person talking with people and online. Um, a popular myth is that it was created or invented to uh, interpret what Eddie Van Halen was doing because his guitar playing was so phenomenal and awesome and unique and new and original. There wasn't a way to write it, and that's kind of a believable story. But the truth is, it's been around a lot longer than that. Tablature, the first recorded tablature was sometime in the 1450s for uh, lute players. Uh, Loudest, loudest, I don't know, whatever. Um, but lute players who couldn't read music would use tablature instead. It was made for them, I guess, in order to be able to play things that they couldn't otherwise read off of music notation, which is what traditional musicians at the time would be working off of. So it opened the doorway for a lot more people to play music that otherwise wouldn't be able to. And so even today we're still using it. I remember looking them up online in the early days of the internet. It kind of revolutionized how people learned to play guitar and shared information uh, uh, when we were able to share them online. But it was also in magazines before that. So it was invented as an easier way to read and interpret music and just start playing the piece that you wanted to play. But so it's useful and it has advantages, but it also has some pretty significant limitations. So think of it as like a less detailed map. Uh, that'll still get you kind of the same place, but you kind of have to have a prior exposure. Um, the way that tabs are set up, they uh, don't really give you an indication of time, uh, or at least duration of notes, I should say. As a side note, I'd look into note duration and just note lengths, quarter notes, half notes, whole notes, and familiarize yourself with those. That's not related to guitar tabs, but it will help you out if you're not already familiar. Um, just to go ahead and be aware of those, and we'll get more in depth in those. I plan to make a video on that in the near future. So, as far as how to read tabs, let's get into that now. So, with every guitar tab, you're going to see this grid, and it's going to have these 6 horizontal lines, and these are going to represent your guitar strings. We're going to read them from bottom to top and play them on the guitar from the top string to the bottom. I think of it like looking down at your guitar. It would actually flip it over to where the top string is on the bottom, on the paper. So, top string being on the bottom, that's your low E string. The next is A, D, G, B, and E. So after that, we see numbers across the lines horizontally. And here I've got a few examples here for you. The first measure, and sometimes you'll see these bar lines in between the vertical lines that are separating them. Sometimes you'll see those in tabs, sometimes you won't. Um, they're used in musical notation to separate measures so that you can arrange those quarter notes and such that I referenced earlier. Uh, but I'll cover that in that video as well. But for right now, it's good to separate that out into phrasing and just know that there is some use for them in this. It's just not as well defined. So in the first measure, I've got 4 numbers there, and they're all on that E string. So low E string, and each of those numbers is going to represent frets. So on your guitar, you got fret 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. and this little fancy one on my guitar is the 12th fret. So after that, the notes start repeating. In this first measure, I've got four notes, four numbers: 3, 3, 2, and 0. So we're just going to the 3rd fret, 3, and then we're going to play it again, 3. Then we're going to follow the tab to 2, and then 0, all on that same string. 3rd fret, 3rd fret, 2nd fret, open. 0 indicates that you're not fretting anything, so it's open. In the next measure, we start to see them stacked on top of each other, and all that means is we're playing them at the same time. So notice that we're open on all except for that 2nd fret. So on the A and the D string, and that actually we're playing all of them because they're all zeroed out, so we still play them. Well, we just play them, we don't fret anything. And then on the A string and the D string, we're fretting only on the 2nd fret on both of them. The 2nd chord is G major, E string 3rd fret, A string 2nd fret, open on the D, G, and B string, all open, and then 3rd fret on the high E string as well. Makes a G major chord. So that measure is, and it's kind of open to interpretation. There's no indication of how long you hold them, so it could be 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4. Open to interpretation, unless you've heard it, which is what these are for. You're trying to find the notes likely for something that you've heard and want to figure out how they're doing it. That's at least what I've used tabs for. 3rd measure, we start to introduce some new symbols. You'll see these little arches. The first one is a hammer-on. It's got a little H at the top, and we're just hammering on. On this one is 12 to 14. So I'm going to go to the G string on the 12th fret, and then hammer on to the 14th fret. And then the next one is a pull off from the 14th to the 12th fret. It's got a P instead of the H, otherwise it's the same, and it's descending. Hammer-ons are ascending, pull-offs are descending. On the next graph, we've got a few other new symbols that you might run into. We've got a bend, so just on the 14th fret, we're bending. So that little curve up with nothing at the end of it there. Sometimes you might see like a little half or quarter or whatever telling you how far to bend it, because you can bend it different distances. And then I just ended that. You already saw in the one before, just end that in a pull off. So I might read that and interpret it as actually that one probably wouldn't work. So anyway, next one, we start seeing some X's on there. Those X's mean that we're gonna mute them or not play them. So in this one, the only strings that we're actually playing any notes on are the A, D, and G string. So we're on the 5th fret for the A string. For the D string, we're on the 7th fret. G string, 7th fret as well. And then we're not playing any other strings there. So we could play them. Another thing that tabs don't really indicate is what your right hand is doing. It's very much a left hand road map over here. So that's one of the big limitations. If you're strumming, you have to get creative and mute everything else with that hand. If you're playing with just your fingers, you can isolate a little bit easier. But you just have to, depending on what you run across in the particular piece that you're trying to work with, you really have to decide on a case-by-case basis. So the next chord is the D major power chord. Same as the C power chord. I just moved it up a fret. As I've done with the previous videos, I kind of kept everything in G major lately. We'll tie all that together for anybody who's been following along. By the way, if you have not subscribed, please go ahead and do so. It'll really help the channel out and encourage me to keep on doing these videos and trying to boost the quality as I go. Also, leave a comment for any video ideas that you may have in the future. Any lesson requests or anything that I might can cover for you specifically. I'll be happy to see what I can do with it. And then hit that like button for me if this has been useful to you in any way. So after that final measure, we're just introducing slides, and you'll see these little slashes in between the notes that either go up or down, and that's just telling you if it's an ascending slide or a descending slide. So we went back to the 12th and 14th fret up here on the G string and the D string. Starting on the G string, we're just going to slide up from 14 to 12, and then we're going to slide right back down on the D string from 12 to 14. Alright, so that's kind of the basics. There are other symbols that you'll see in tabs that I haven't covered in this video. These are just some of the key ones that you're going to want to have under your belt if you're going to be using tabs to help learn a piece of music. But that's it for this lesson. Hopefully you got something out of this video, and hope to see you in the next one.